Hi, I'm Jason Horsch, owner of Xanadu Gallery in Scottsdale and Pine Top, Arizona, and this is Ask a Gallery Owner. Today's question comes from Holly in Massachusetts, and Holly asks, Hi Jason, last year I'd posted a painting on Instagram that I'd completed. A good friend said that she wanted to purchase it. I framed it and gave them a price, which they agreed to. It's been a year. I mentioned it once, but do not want to pester them. I'm completely fine with them having a change of heart. I'd also like to hang it in the frame shop where I hang most of my work. What should I do? So, Holly, I suspect that you are far from alone in being in this situation. Any artist, any gallery, art consultant, all of us have faced this situation where we've had someone express interest in a piece of artwork to the point where it felt to us like we had an agreement to purchase, but then somehow some time passes, we aren't able to close the sale immediately for some reason, and the wind goes out of the sails, and so you're left wondering, what should I do here? And you feel a little bit paralyzed. Here, you mentioned this is an extreme case where it's been a year since that initial conversation occurred, and you're left wondering, well, am I free to sell this piece of artwork? Should I move on? I don't want to pester them, and like I say, to a certain degree, we're all going to run into circumstances similar to this. Let me address first the underlying premise here, and that is this concern that my follow-up on the initial interest in purchasing this piece of artwork could potentially be seen as pestering, being too aggressive and that kind of thing. And I would suggest that often we are erring way on the side of being too timid about our follow-up, and that our concerns about appearing a pest or appearing to be harassing our customers are often overblown in our own minds. Your friend, your future customers, they're going to understand that this is your livelihood. You are a professional artist. You're focused on selling your artwork, and following up with customers and finding out what their decision is going to be a part of that business. And so you want to not be afraid to do that. And I think another underlying concern here is that we're sometimes afraid that if we follow up, we're going to get, we had a yes, we want to purchase this. And we're afraid that if we follow up further, we might get an answer we don't want. They might tell us, no, we don't want it. Now, you've said the right thing here, Holly, in that you're saying, I'm okay if they change their mind. That's fine. But I think what we're all concerned about in this kind of situation is we don't want to do the wrong thing. We don't want to hang it in a gallery or sell it to someone else and then have the initial customer come back to us and say, all right, we're ready to buy now. And you're left standing there saying, oh no, I've sold it. And certainly that could be an awkward situation to be in as well. So what's the solution? The simplest is, let's set up a framework for ourselves where we just know that in any circumstance, obviously the ideal is when someone tells us they want to buy something, we want to collect payment as quickly as possible, preferably on the spot. If that's not possible, we want a framework for how we're going to operate. If someone expresses interest to me in a piece of artwork and there's something that needs to be done, in this case, it sounds like the work needed to be framed, but it could be something else. The client maybe told me that they're waiting for a bonus from work to come in, or there's some other element that stands between them and making the purchase on the spot. Okay, my framework tells me when that is said, I'm going to immediately, in that initial conversation, attempt to set up a timeline, a very specific timeline for getting us from here to the point where they can make that payment. So it'll take me a couple of weeks to have this piece framed. Then I'll get in touch with you and we can secure the payment for this piece. Don't be afraid to talk about that payment, to be specific about it. And they understand. They want to buy it. They've expressed interest in acquiring the piece. They know that necessitates a purchase on their part. So don't be afraid to talk about that. Don't leave it in the wind. And then we want to follow that timeline and stay in communication, especially if it's going to be a longer period. It's going to take me 3 or 4 weeks to get it framed, or you're going to be out of the country for a month. The more specific you can be in your follow-up. Okay, when you get back into the country, let's get in touch. I'll email you 3 weeks from now or give you a call, and we can make final arrangements for this piece. Now, even with that framework in place, it is possible that your phone calls will go unanswered and unreturned, or your email won't get a response. So again, I want to have a framework in place. Okay, if I don't hear back from the client within 2 days after a phone call, or 2 or 3 days after an email, I'm going to follow up again. And my first couple of communications, I'm just going to keep it very simple. Hey, just reaching out again about this piece you wanted to purchase. Let's get in touch. When can I reach you? And kind of end with a question like that. Try to elicit a response. And if we're still not hearing back, we're not calling or becoming a collection agency on them. We're just wanting to, as quickly as possible, resolve this. The longer it goes on, as Holly, I'm sure you've seen, the more awkward this situation becomes. So we want to work to move this to a resolution as quickly as possible. And so, in my third voice message or email, I'm just going to communicate with them. Hey, it's been a little while. I've reached out a couple of times and haven't heard back from you. I just want to ascertain what your thinking is about this piece of artwork. Are you still interested in purchasing the piece? Don't be afraid to ask that. Give them an opportunity to let you know and confirm or change their mind. And if I'm still not hearing back, then I'm going to follow up and say, I haven't heard back from you. It's been, a month since we first talked, and I've tried to reach out a few times, and I haven't heard back from you. I know how busy you can get. I will let you know I've got this piece slated to go to a gallery next week, so I really need to hear back from you before then. I want to make sure if this is still the piece for you, I want to make sure that you get it. Always kind of frame it in that, frame your communication in that mindset of, I want to make this the best situation possible for you, and I'm working on your behalf to help you get this piece of artwork. And then if I don't hear back from them, then at that point, I no longer need to wonder or feel guilty if I'm moving forward. And certainly I'm not going to be left in a situation where now it's going to drag on for weeks and months and even years. I can go ahead and move forward. And I just find that direct communication and letting the client know, what's happening and what's going to happen if I don't hear from them. Very often I will get an email or a phone call back. I'm so sorry that I've been slow in getting back to you. It has been crazy since we returned to the country, and I've been catching up on some stuff, or something else came up. And they're apologetic for not getting back. I've never had someone annoyed that I was attempting to follow up on a conversation that we had. Now, granted, there are some people I just ultimately never hear back from, and that's okay too. Life goes on, things happen, and we'll move on to find this artwork another home. But I think that the bigger picture here, and ultimately how we can be thinking about this, that's going to help us change our mindset a little bit, is I think all of us, to a certain extent, hopefully it becomes less so as time goes on, but I think all of us suffer a little bit from you might think of it as a little bit as imposter syndrome. I'm not a good enough artist, or in a gallery situation, I'm not a great salesperson, or the art we're trying to sell to this client isn't the very best that I think it could. You come up with all these reasons that are absolutely not true, but we all feel a little bit of that lack of confidence in ourselves and often in what we're trying to sell. And I would just encourage us to think about it in a very different way, and that is that we know from our past experience with clients who have completed purchases, we know that artwork is going to make a huge positive impact in their lives. They're going to enjoy it for years to come. We are striving to do them a service by helping them follow through on acquiring that artwork. And the better we are at our follow through and at completing those sales, the happier our clients are going to be. And so, the disservice is not the follow up and the risk of annoyance. The disservice is letting things linger and not doing the follow up. So I would encourage you, Holly, it's not too late. Go ahead and reach out, and you can even allude to, I know this is a little bit awkward. It's been almost a year since we last talked, but you had mentioned you were interested in this piece. It's ready. I still have it available. If you're still interested, I would love to help you make it yours. And if not, I'm planning to send it to a gallery next week. So I just wanted to touch base with you. And I would suspect that you will hear back from the client if you frame it in that way. But that would be my advice. Come up with a plan now. All of us should come up with this plan now, that whenever there is a situation where we can't close the sale immediately, let's use a framework that we set up. And there's no exact perfect framework. Just having the framework and letting our clients kind of get a sense that we know what we're doing, and having that framework of follow-up will put us in a much stronger position to make sure that we're not having these sales linger and not occur. So I hope that's helpful. Please leave your comments below if you've had a situation like this, where you've had a sale that has kind of lingered or not come to pass because you haven't known quite how to follow up, or how you handled these kinds of situations and what advice you might give to other artists who are facing a similar circumstance. And also, how you feel your clients have responded when you have done the follow through. If you found this Ask a Gallery Owner session helpful, I encourage you to sign up for our newsletter at red.blog, www.red.blog.com. Follow me on social media, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next session.